Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout out to something else. Something else, Daddy.
This is Mantell, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
Good evening, degenerates and reprobates. Welcome to episode number 173 of Something Else. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we take a look at Mid Soutn Wrestling and World Class Championship Wrestling from March 10th, 1984. Stupid leap year. Joining me, as always, is the very capable Mike Bond to my Chic Donovan. It's Trae. Trae, how the fuck are you today?
I'm good. I'm sorry. I was just thinking about Chic Donovan. I I had heard the name Chic Donovan, never really saw him until kind of recently ish because he's doing TV jobs at WCW in '93. And it's apparent here, like here he looks like, just big fluffy blonde hair body guy. But in '93 he looks so much like the we got the total package Lex Luger at home.
Can't we have total package Lex Luger? You have total package Lex Luger at home.
Well, WWE Hall of Famer, the total package Lex Luger.
But
Congratulations.
they were saying WWE Hall of Famer Chic Donovan.
Well, someday we're getting things right now. Someday.
So so who do you think inducts Luger? I mean, maybe I guess maybe Flair,
I
but
mean,
yeah, like
we
he,
know who it should be,
and it won't be.
and it
'Cause I
won't
think
be, but it should be. I don't.
everything
It's
is
not gonna
everyone
be.
is thinking the Stinger.
Yeah.
I mean, who else? Like in reality, who else could it be? I mean,
If
you're,
it's not,
you're
I think if it's not Sting, it would have to be Flair, wouldn't it? I
yeah,
can't
pretty
think of
much.
I can't think of anybody else that like. Is there anybody else that Luger was really like associated with?
Yokozuna, but he's kind of
Anybody that's
dead.
alive? Anybody that's alive? Yeah.
Hogan,
Uh, a positive association? Well,
I mean,
I don't
he
know.
beat Hogan 3 times during the summer of '97 by submission, and then Hogan
That
was magnanimous enough to allow him to drive the title belt to Sturgis.
it's but that was a great moment. That
Oh yeah,
that
Luger
title
winning on that
change. Yeah.
Nitro, like all-time great Nitro moment. You know, um,
Yeah.
maybe Nash. Because while they may not have been, I mean, they were kind of aligned in the Wolfpack, but they were pretty good friends in '98. Because there's a story that, when Nash took over the book in '98, '99, part of the reason why Flair was being buried was because Nash was friends with Luger, and Luger still held a grudge against Flair for quitting instead of, losing to Luger at the Great American Bash that time.
From Luger's perspective, that's completely valid.
Yeah. So who knows? We just know it's not going to be Sting, and it's probably not going to be either Yokozuna or Miss Elizabeth.
Probably will not be the British Bulldog either. No allied
That,
powers.
damn, and that was one cursed tag team feud: the Allied Powers versus Owen and Yokozuna.
Oh yeah. Oh, dadgum.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
In
Only
your
one
house
of
too
them.
takes it, Nick. In your
Only
house
one
too
of them
takes it.
lived
Oh,
past what 2002.
Paige, DDP. Not to confuse with Soraya when I say Paige. because Paige helped him uh be able to stand up now.
Yeah. I mean, DDP is always you know what you're going to get from DDP. He's always good. Nash is an interesting one. He's I don't know. Say what you will about Nash, he's charming.
Yes. I met him once, I think it was at the Atlanta WrestleMania or WrestleCon in this case. Super nice guy. By the way, did you see they announced where the Hall of Fame is going to be, or when, I guess, is the Hall of Fame is going to be? So they're not doing it in the same arena right after SmackDown. Instead, they're
Or
doing it
the
in a different arena immediately after SmackDown. So it's like if you want to see both,
uh,
you're probably going to miss the opening act, whoever that ends up being.
okay, please tell me it's like right across the street or something.
I didn't actually look. I just know it's two entirely different locations.
Because that's a terrible fucking idea.
See, I don't think so, because I mean, like last year when I was debating whether to go to Ring of Honor or SmackDown, I like the only reason I'd want to go to SmackDown was to have seen the Hall of Fame. So I do think there are people who will go to SmackDown to see SmackDown, and I think there are people who, I mean, I don't know if this show is sold out or not, but I think there are definitely people who would just go for the Hall of Fame. Plus, it gives Hunter the added ego boost of selling out a small arena for his Hall of Fame. Um, because if there's one person in this world who needs an ego boost, it's Triple H.
Well, he hates being the center of attention.
He does, and the way that he was completely thrown off and surprised by being put into the Hall of Fame, man, oh man, you know,
Uh, yeah. I
why
can't
would they do
find.
that? Why would they do that to the poor guy? Don't and imagine they're screwing over Michelle McCool, who could have been the main event Hall of Famer this year.
I
Oh.
there's no the Hall of Fame venue is not on the front page of the Observer, and I don't care enough to look anywhere else.
I was gonna say you have to actually click on the thing. You have to click on the
Yeah,
article.
it are already moved
That
on.
okay.
I'm in a different place in
Um,
my life. I'm in a different place in my life than I was 30 seconds ago when I don't even remember what I'm not looking at anymore.
hey, now that we're super popular YouTubers, I can see why. Because why the hell would you bother when we're killing it, man. We're approaching 4 digits of views on
Hey,
YouTube.
hey, I might be able to afford my ADHD medicine, then I won't forget what I'm talking about in the middle of a fucking sentence anymore.
There you go. We're at a 536, by the way, is the uh number at the beginning of the show for last week's Friday night watch along, soon to be renamed the Friday night spot show. Um, by the way, I guess since the show's actually becoming pseudo popular, we should probably say something. There's not going to be a show this Friday night.
Oh
See,
yeah,
before people actually begin watching our damn show, we both occasionally have a life, and Trey has a life this Friday. And
to
yeah,
quote the poet Willie Nelson, I gotta get drunk and I sure do dread it, but I know just what I gotta do.
yes. So there will not be a Friday night show this Friday, but we are going to come back with a bang the following Friday, because the plan is for right now, Heroes of Wrestling. Um,
Yeah, have actually never actually watched it.
Yep. And at least the plan that I notice you never actually have agreed to, but I just keep trying to force it onto you, is that we're going to do half of the show the first week and then the other half the second week. This is like a 3 hour show. I think the whole world doesn't need to see us doing this damn show for 3 hours at a time. Famous last words.
Yeah, that's that's probably a good instinct there. I'm gonna I'm gonna
It's
I'm gonna defer to you on that and trust your instinct. As in with all matters of the scheduling, I defer to your expertise.
knuckles cracking. I love that somehow we started doing a fourth show with like no planning. Like You know?
But that's why it's perfect though. It's the Friday night spot show. We don't have to do it every week. It's just the like whenever the fuck we feel like it, or when there's something we want to watch.
Knowing our luck, we're going to be doing this almost every week, right?
Well,
Like,
you
I'm
know,
I'm gonna I'm gonna be in Vegas for
okay,
WrestleMania, and there's gonna be part of me going, man, I wish I was doing a podcast with Trey right now.
yeah, okay. It maybe like one Friday out of the month I'm doing something, and one Friday out of the month you're doing something. Sometimes it's plus or minus one, but I mean we can do one or two of those a month probably if people like them.
And apparently they do. What's wrong with people? We're not sure.
There's
Because,
no accounting for taste.
yep, the Friday Night Spot Show coming to a YouTube near you. All right, so now that
We
we're
gotta.
11 minutes into the podcast, you want to talk about the wrestling shows? This might
Hey,
explain why people don't listen to this show.
what we got a lot to talk about, so I guess
Yeah.
we could dive in.
Okay, so I'm serious this time. Did you notice the new logo?
I didn't.
God damn it.
Oh, I forget every time. I forget until you bring it up again.
I'm going to keep asking you on every show until you notice the new
Oh,
fucking logo.
I'm not gonna remember
Maybe,
it next week. And next week, the
but,
day that we record the show, you're gonna remind me, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I watched it yesterday."
a good podcaster would, screenshot or something and send it to you. But no, I'm not going to fucking do that.
Oh yeah, if we
I'm
were
going to
good
see
podcasters, it would ruin the whole thing.
yes. I'm going to see if you can notice the new logo before they change the backdrop of the show. Before they change the set, I want to see if you notice. And they think they change the set in like June. So
Okay.
we'll see.
Okay.
Then if you still don't notice, we might have to push it off until Junkyard Dog leaves. Uh,
Oh.
but all right. So let's go to the intro of the show. Boyd is with good old JR, Bill Watts associate from Bixby, Oklahoma.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to this week's edition of Mid South Wrestling on the Mid South Wrestling Television Network. I'm your host, Boyd Pearson. We have a lot of exciting action coming up. Tag team-wise, listen to this fast-moving, you can't beat it, as Jim Cornette sends his Midnight Express against the swift-paced Rock and Roll Express. And we move into the 6th week of the on-looking, everybody's waiting for the Mid-South tournament on television. The champion receiving $10,000 plus a beautiful medal. And to bring an update on that, Jim Ross, the associate of Cowboy Bill Watts in Oklahoma. Bill?
Well, thank you very much, Boyd. I do appreciate being here. And wrestling fans, this will be the 6th round of the television tournament this week. It'll be Terry Taylor against Masao Ito. Don't forget, next week, the Junkyard Dog will go against Crusher Khrushchev. Of course, he used to formerly Crusher Darso. We saw that renouncement here last week. The tournament is really coming down to the fine points. They're really going for the gold, and they're going for that $10,000. And we'll talk more about the great tournament as this hour progresses in Mid-South Wrestling. But right now, Cowboy Bill Watts is standing at ringside. He has a very special interview for us. Let's go to Cowboy Bill Watts at ringside now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm standing here with the Mid-South Tag Team Champions. And as you know, there's a tremendous amount of pressure when you hold any championship. And there's a lot of pressure internally on any team. And it's hard enough to deal with the pressure of your match when you have a problem internally. And we've seen develop a tremendous problem over the North American title, where Magnum TA was selected by the board of directors of Mid-South Wrestling to be the #1 contender for the North American title, a goal which he in Wrestling 2, as his coach, had so sought. And yet when that goal came down, it seemed like it caused a tremendous amount of dissension, and you have publicly humiliated and accused this man of many things. First of all, you've accused him of being a coward. You've challenged him publicly on TV. I'd like to join with you while you watch last week, even after the way you humiliated him, and he turned and walked away rather than wrestling you. He stated he did not want to wrestle you. He turned and walked away. And yet when you got in trouble, he came to your aid. Let's watch that.
These guys are...
Let's not. We did that last week. I don't know why my stupid clicker wasn't working there. So yeah, this week I guess Grizzly Smith got his wish for once because we're going to get the Midnight Express versus the Rock and Roll Express, which, we'll get
You
to it,
know,
but literally, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I feel like for that match, we have to forgive Grizzly Smith for one of the worst things he's ever done. Not that one, but one of them.
Doesn't that go against, everything about this show? Well, how about instead we give that award to the sixth round of the television tournament for a medal and $10,000, Terry Taylor and Masao Ito.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That it's so funny. I get silly. Like I have this database and just some of the way that I phrase
Get
stuff is just to
silly.
amuse myself. So it actually says like Mid South Television Championship tournament for $10,000 and a medal, sixth round, because that's what they said.
I always, ever since that first week, I've always called it the television tournament for a medal and $10,000. That always just sounds
Yeah,
right.
it does. That's well, see, I couldn't remember if it was $10,000 because this week they were saying $10,000 on a medal. Maybe
Yes.
I don't know. I'll have to look about that.
So then we get a continuation of our little angle here with Mr. Wrestling 2 and Magnum TA. Watts recaps everything and then pitches it to the end of the TV tournament match last week between TA and Crusher Khrushchev. And it's where Mr. Wrestling 2 capitulated on behalf of Mr. Wrestling 2. When Mr. Wrestling 2 did not capitulate on behalf of Mr. Wrestling 2, he capitulated on behalf of Magnum TA, which makes a lot more sense. And of course, there's no defending it at the end of the day. There's no defending it. He did it because he's a dick. But of course, they're able to work around it and, give him the tiniest, teensiest, tiniest, littlest benefit of the doubt, even though you know he's a dick. I know he's a dick. And the fans know he's a dick. But
Okay,
he
I
he
had
got
a
the
thought.
tiniest. Mhm.
Go ahead and finish, and then I'll tell you my
I
thought.
just say, was just saying, he got the tiniest little bit of defense on that one.
I had a thought, and I almost don't want to say it because I'm not sure if this actually gets like said as part of it. But I kind of got the impression that I think this is part of like the training. Like this whole thing is to giving TA a master class and being a man and a wrestler.
Well, he's going to learn his lesson soon enough to,
You're gonna learn
you know,
today.
I, yeah, don't trust anybody.
Mm-mm.
And so after that, we go back to the ringside area where Bill Watts is still with Mr. Wrestling 2 and Magnum TA because why the hell would they leave? They want to talk. Let's go to that
Yeah.
now.
Again, like I say, although badly lacerated, still wearing the butterfly bandages for the tremendous cut he received coming to your aid, yet he still went out. He didn't back down. He went out and took on Crusher Darso, Crusher Khrushchev, whatever you want to call him, a very formidable, tough, rough opponent in the TV tournament. Rather than forfeit, he went out there and carried the battle to him. And I thought maybe you'd come to your senses and you came out and looked like you'd resumed the role of coach. And yet, when he got into that formidable hold, I couldn't understand you were calling the referee over. He was fighting the hold, and he came out of the hold and had Crusher Khrushchev pinned, and you threw the towel in. Again, I ask you, with him present, why did you throw the towel in?
Bill, this man was bleeding. He was in trouble. He was getting the devil beat out of him. Let's face it. He was down for the count. He was upside down, screaming, I quit, I quit, I quit. I can't stand no more. I quit.
You're saying that he was saying that he quit? I've never heard this man quit.
You heard what I said. He said he quit. He said, I quit. That's what I called the referee over there for. That's why I threw the towel in. I didn't want him to embarrass us any further. We are supposed to be the tag team champions. I don't want any embarrassment, so I threw the towel in to where he wouldn't have to embarrass myself by quitting.
So you are now saying, and this is different than your story last week when I asked you, you're now saying that he submitted and gave up in that hole.
That's what I said, isn't it?
And you threw the towel in for
That's
that
why
reason.
I threw the towel. Coach, what in the world is wrong with you? You, of all people, know that I'm no quitter. I wasn't a quitter when I met you. That was the characteristic of me, that you thought you could make me a champion. All the hard work, all the hours of training you had me, and I never quit. And in that ring with Darso, I didn't quit. You know I didn't quit. And you know what? I know why you did what you did, because you were jealous. You were afraid that I was going to come out on top in that tournament and do something that you weren't going to have the opportunity to do. Well, I'm going to tell you something. All that aside, you and I are the champions. I'm going to put all that aside because we owe something to ourselves as the champions. We owe something to all those people out there that we represent. And I want to go on as champions and remain that way. Let me tell you something, T.A. I told you once, I'll tell you again. I picked you up from the garbage and made you a man. But you're a gutless man. You got no guts. You see, I've embarrassed you. I've slapped your face not once, but 3 times. I have put a challenge to you, and you turned your back on me because you haven't got the guts. And matter of fact, you know, the embarrassment, no one can be embarrassed any more than but being slapped. And matter of fact, I think I'll slap you again. Hey, let me tell you something. I'll turn the other cheek, but I can see I can talk till I'm blue in the face. It ain't going to do no good. Well, let's get it on. Oh, no.
He's ready. He's calling it.
Yeah, let me tell you something right now. He's just like the junkyard dog. You see, he's looking for an excuse. If I go in there and beat him now, he'll say he's not dressed right, he wasn't prepared. He'll have some kind of excuse, just like the junkyard dog, looking for excuses. You sign the contract, you make it legal, and I'm going to put you in that ring in front of everybody, and I'll beat you up and up. Square, fair and square. That's where I'm going to beat him.
There you have it. There you have it. It's in the hands of Grizzly Smith. You can see the crowd. They'd like it now. So would I, tell you the truth, but it's up to Grizzly Smith.
All right. So, I mean, any doubt like that Mr. Wrestling 2 was turning heel, I don't know if anybody even had any doubt, but any doubt you may have had that 2 was turning heel here, out the window. Out the window. Because, like, this is one of those things, like, okay, there are other things he's done where, like, you could argue that, like, what he was doing was for the betterment of Magnum TA. You could say he was trying to toughen him up. He was trying to, make him a better athlete, a better fighter. This was just him being an out-and-out dick.
Yeah. And he's been a dick the whole time. Now he's a lying dick.
Yes. And now not only is he bringing up TA, he's bringing up Dog. What the hell did Dog ever do to him? Now it's like, oh, you're just like the Dog. Anytime you lose, there has to be an excuse. And, Mr. Wrestling 2, at this point, no one blames Magnum TA for wanting to fight his coach.
It's interesting to kind of see when you have a limited number of game pieces how you mix and match them, because we're kind of in a transition to where, like, by the time very soon there's going to be 3 major programs. It's going to be the Midnight Express feud that Junkyard Dog will be involved in, and the TA and 2 feud, and I had something else. But it's like, you have the North American Championship, you have the Tag Team Championship, and they're like, you've got to, this is where booking comes in. You got to switch shit around to get it to where you wanted, to where you can book your programs. I don't know.
Okay. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Junkyard Dog doesn't feud with the Midnight Express.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do a racism. They have similar body types.
Trae doing a racism.
Well, I mean, I'm not even saying that they look alike facially, because they have very different faces, but they do have very similar physiques. I mean, they have to have similar training regimens, right? I mean, aren't they friends? Mm-hmm. They train together, right?
Well, Dog got Stagger Lee out of prison, I believe.
Yeah, hey, I bet prisoners get buff as shit. So I bet
Yeah,
that's where Dog learned his training techniques.
very true. He learned them from Stagger Lee, of course. He didn't learn them from being in prison because Junkyard Dog is a good man.
No, no,
Yeah,
but he
yeah.
hey,
But
a good
it's a good thing
idea.
it's a good thing no one listens to this show because else you doing a racism could lead to someone doing a murder on you.
Oh, I could do something even worse. I could do so much worse. I was gonna say a good idea is a good idea, no matter where you get it.
Was the good idea Junkyard Dog and Stagger Lee training together?
Well, the good idea is that if you find prison weightlifting techniques to be an effective addition to your regime, you should use them. You shouldn't not use them
Well,
just because of where they came from.
well, speaking of that to some degree, up next was Nikolai Volkov, and to quote Reeser Bowden, his comrade, who now prefers to be called Crusher Khrushchev, versus John King and Joe Savoldi. So you're telling me that Crusher Khrushchev has a preferred name that he likes being called? What a damn woke ass
Oh,
liberal. You
typical
know,
fucking
you,
commies.
you fucking with your preferred names. Back in my day, kid, we didn't have preferred names. We didn't have pronouns back in the day. Those just got invented. Oh.
Barry
Anyway,
Darso.
so by the way, of all the names, we've joked over the years about the Mid South graphics department not being able to spell anything right. Of all the names that they spell right, they get Khrushchev right.
Oh my god! It wasn't even just the graphics department. I I told you earlier. I messaged you earlier. I just because I was doing some research, so I looked at my copy of the Midnight Express 25th anniversary scrapbook, and it had a pay stub from a week, and of course, the one city that was misspelled was Crossit, my hometown.
How is it really spelled?
It had a T. It had an E on the end that wasn't supposed to be there. It's
Ah,
Crossett.
well, I guess the Mid South payroll department is in charge of the Mid South graphics.
Oh, it's just that they have one spell checker, and they're not very good.
No, no, they're not. I was gonna say, what department does the spell checker work in? Uh,
Uh, I don't know.
so, so John King, by the way, is in red tights and knee pads. So maybe
They
he
were
wants
all
to
in.
train with Nikolai Volkov too.
They were all in red tights, weren't they?
I don't
Am I
think
misremembering?
Joseph Oldie was.
It was the Midnight and Rock and Roll match that everybody was in red tights.
Yes, I think I make a joke about that during that match too.
Okay.
They all want to train with Nikolai Volkov. Um, so, and I did note, by the way, that before he became, Crusher Khrushchev, before he became a comrade, Darso did do a job on TV for Nikolai Volkov before joining him. And
Hmm.
so I started thinking, Boris King has a nice ring to it. And then I was thinking, Nick Nikita Savoldi, like that would be a great name for a wrestler, Nikita Savoldi. But
What if
unfortunately, he wasn't wearing red, so it doesn't count.
maybe they can turn George Weingroff and he can become Vladimir Weingroff.
That would
I
be
don't
the
know
most
why.
preposterous of all the
I
names.
don't know why I thought that was Oh my god, the woman that did the enhancement match on Collision last week, this past Saturday. What was her name?
I don't
Oh,
know. You're the one who watched it.
oh, hold on. I'm good. Our Arcade Anarchy didn't even try. Like, uh,
At least I call her
Tatyevic
Arcadia Anarchy now.
Tatyevic Hunanian.
Seriously, I don't. With all due respect, I'm sure she's a lovely person. How was her match? Like, I'm sure she just was a squash match, but I mean, how was it?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Harley Cameron won with her finishing move.
I like you keep calling it her finishing move.
That that is its
But
technical proper Christian name. Her finishing move.
I thought that had some wacky name to it.
That it's
Uh,
her finishing move. That's the joke.
anyway, so it's like I'm sure she's a lovely person. The person who did the job to Harley Cameron's her finishing move, but like, girl, change your name. I don't care if that's your real name. That shouldn't be your working name.
I'm sorry. If I was a
Oh,
promoter, though, like if I was a promoter today and I hired the wrestler formerly known as Rusev, I would absolutely just have him be Miroslav Barnyshev because how are you going to get better than that?
I've told that story on the show before, but the first time I heard Claudio Castagnoli, I thought that was the fake, that was the fakest, dumbest sounding name ever. And I'm
It's
like,
funny.
why would like that's the dumbest sounding name ever? Like that exposes wrestling more than Kenny Omega fighting a 9-year-old girl. And then it turned out that's his real name.
Claudio Castagnoli is the opposite of Adam Cole.
It's so real, it's fake. Uh, oh Lord. So
so
where the hell were we? Oh yeah. By the way, tremendous finish in this
oh
tag
yes,
match.
I like
Um,
this.
and when you think about like Nikolai Volkov and Barry Darsow, they are not the smoothest wrestlers you've ever seen in your life.
No,
So I don't know about you, but I was not expecting a very fluid tag team finisher out of the two of them.
that was
And
very cool. I was very impressed.
Nikolai Volkov gives Joe Savoldi a backdrop, and Savoldi lands into Darsow's arms for the Canadian backbreaker.
I guess since now that he's Crusher Khrushchev, I guess we can call it the Siberian backbreaker.
Sure, why not? I always just called the over the shoulder backbreaker until you kept
Yeah.
correcting me,
Well,
even though
that's
he's
I
not
mean
Canadian.
I wasn't correcting you. That's just what the move is called.
Uh, I, so do we need to be watching Raw in 2011 and have you talking about how Beth Phoenix does a move called the bitch clamp?
Is that where that came from?
That's yes.
Okay, I heard it
Because
called that. That's a great name.
apparently the name, the real name of the glam slam is the bitch clamp.
See, that is the best name for it. Which, like, Ryusuke Taguchi has done it for years. He calls it the Dodon, which means something. I don't remember. I think it was like a fucking restaurant that he liked or something. I
It
remember reading years
it
ago.
means it means something.
It does mean something. All words are made up. Who else? Didn't Paul London do that move? Wasn't he called like the Waffle Face? That's a pretty good name too. But I'm sorry.
I'm sure the
Uh,
waffle face means something too.
uh, Bitch Clamp is an excellent name. It's up there with Implant Buster.
Oh Lord. By the way, so Terry Taylor versus Masao Ito in the sixth round of the television tournament for a medal and $10,000. We have not seen Masao Ito on this show since his last tournament match, so I guess he wanted to preserve his winning streak.
Yeah.
Uh, Ito got on the uterus clutch that Terry eventually got out of with some 12-6 elbows and forearms, but Ito locked the clutch back on. However, Taylor needed to use the All-American right hands. We got a reversal of an Irish whip that saw Taylor take out referee Eric Johnson. Ito heaved Taylor out of the ring, and like a coward, Taylor went crawling under the ring. Maybe he wanted to watch Little People's Court. But then whatchamacallit, Ito wakes up Eric Johnson and encourages the referee to count out Terry Taylor. And with both of them looking in the opposite direction, Terry Taylor, like the coward that he is, crawled out the other side and rolled up Masao Ito for the win with an O'Connor roll.
I mean, I think that was meant to be the spot. that the referee and Ito were meant to have already turned before Terry Taylor came out of the other side of the ring. But no, he came out and they were looking at him and then very slowly and awkwardly turned around. And I pondered my life choices and wished that I was rewatching that Kenny Omega Konosuke Takeshita match.
Well, now Terry Taylor move on to the 8th round of the television tournament for a medal and
Wow.
$10,000, where he will take on Butch Reed.
We're getting into it.
Yeah, I bet you
8th
don't even
round.
remember Butch Reed was still in the tournament.
Bitch Steed.
Bitch Steed will be in this tournament in 2 weeks. Take on terrific Terry Taylor.
Yeah.
All right. So now we got something.
Yes, we do.
It is a historic match. It is
It is.
match number 1 in the approximate 374 match series that these two teams are going to have. And for once, if I'm exaggerating, I'm not exaggerating by much.
By the way,
It is.
I do consider this to be one continuous feud that goes from Ricky and Robert against Dennis and Bobby to Ricky and Robert against Bobby and Stan to them against the Heavenly Bodies to them against the Secondly Heavenly Bodies. I consider this to be all one feud. It's the Rock and Roll Express versus Jim Cornette et al.
I'm not entirely counting the Heavenly Bodies, only the Bobby and Stan version of it. I am counting though that 2005 run where they would be wrestling each other on indie shows and reunion shows. I count that.
Yeah.
But like I don't count like Tom and Jimmy or Tom and Stan. Like it is like I know it's arguing semantics, especially since it's not like it was Bobby and Dennis the whole time or Bobby and Stan. But yeah, I stopped
Look,
the counting during the Heavenly Bodies era.
I am never gonna say that I don't count Jimmy Del Rey.
He is our scumbag.
He
Especially
is
now
our
that MJF
scumbag.
lost at the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. All right, so what we like to do every time the Midnight Express have a match is listen to the increasingly great introductions given by Mr. James E. Cornette. Let's go to Reeser to introduce Mr. Cornette.
And now it's tag team action in the Express Showdown. This event is for one fall or remaining television time.
Reeser Bowden, why don't you just back off somewhere? I've got something to say. I want to ask another question. Who are these two goons running around here calling themselves the Rock and Roll Express, trying to make a reputation for themselves off our name? Well, I wanted to find out because to me they look like a couple of valley girls, Muffy and Sissy. So I agreed to a match here today to find out what these two boys have to show to my men, why they should call themselves an Express. And I'm going to introduce to you now the two men who are undoubtedly the greatest combination in all of wrestling, the men who will roll over the Rock and Rollers, Loverboy Dennis and beautiful Bobby the Midnight Express.
Yes. You're not going to break into the WWE Network edit version of that song, are you?
No, original only.
Okay. I won't discuss the FTR version, which is the exact same goddamn song, except it's not really the exact same goddamn song.
I
But
don't know. I like it. It's an homage.
Yes, I like it too. Just when I hear Mikey Ruckus talk about how hard it was to make that song, I'm like, okay, like you made a version of that song. It's like you created a brand new song.
It's basically a cover of a fucking like what 40-year-old, 50-year-old piece of music.
Yes. I mean, it's cool that he did it. I mean, don't get me wrong.
No,
I love it, but
it is. It's great.
I just kind of was like, okay, I'm just gonna smile and nod and, give you your props and move on with my life.
Yeah.
So here's where I noted it's Midnight Express with Jim Cornette versus the Rock and Roll Express without Jim Cornette. Everyone in this match is wearing red, which I presume means they will all be joining the sides of Nikolai Volkov and Crusher Khrushchev. After a brief flurry that included a Morton Hurricanrana of all things, the Midnight Express cut off Gibson of all people until Morton got the tag. Now Jim Cornette, I think I warned you about this the other day, Trey. But Jim Cornette, if you were listening to this, please ignore what we're about to say. Fast forward about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Jim Cornette, I'm sorry.
I know what you're going to say. I wrote the same thing.
This is a fact. I'm sorry, but this is a fact. In 1984, this is a moves match. This is the equivalent, and the 40 people listening to the show, 12 of their heads may explode with what I'm about to say. This match in 1984 is the equivalent of a Young Bucks private party match in 2025. It is a moves match. You can't even argue at this point. It's just a fact. You can't watch these shows week after week like we are and see how every other match in all of wrestling is going, and then watch this match with these two teams where they're all hitting all their big moves one after another and not think this is an equivalent to these days. Are they doing too much these days? Maybe. But something? They were probably doing too much in 1984. By 1984 standards, this was a Young Bucks match. I'm sorry, but it's true.
Jim, forgive me. Look, this match, the 3 minutes and 34 seconds that they went bell to bell, you could put that on Collision this week and it would not be out of place.
Wow, you're insulting them further by not even saying it's good enough to be on Dynamite.
No.
You're saying it's just good enough to be on the show for the sickos.
No, ma'am. I am a collider. That is the highest praise.
See, I figure most people call it a dynamiter. You light the fuse.
I like to fight on Saturday night.
Saturday. Yeah, this show, this is the reason why people don't listen to the show, because we just break in a song at random sometimes. And by we, I mean me. They even kick out of finishers because they do the double drop kick to Bobby Eaton. By the way, this is like the second match we've seen the Rock and Roll Express in on this show, maybe the third match. And we're already kicking out of their finisher. Eaton kicked out of the double drop kick. And then, hey, speaking of the Russians run in for the disqualification.
Indeed, they did.
Yes. And then to make it even wackier and weirder, maybe, we get a bit of a hardcore angle for 1984 standards. They held Ricky Morton down. Midnight Express, well, Khrushchev held Morton down. The Midnights held down, I wrote Condry, but they held down Gibson. TA and Taylor, oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, they cut Ricky Morton's hair. They cut a pair of scissors and cut his hair.
I can almost guarantee you at least one of them got stabbed by a nail file sometime in the next week or two after this aired.
Almost guarantee. Yeah. They cut poor Ricky Morton's hair. TA and Taylor hit the ring for the save. And by the way, I don't want to spoil anything for you. This is more hair than Ricky Morton ever loses in a hair versus hair match, including the ones that he lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was I mean,
so now, spoiler, we're going to move on to, at some point, we're moving on to the Midnights versus the Rock and Rolls as an official feud. But now we've set up a heated angle for them versus the Russians. We have them with the Midnights down the line. The Midnights still have their big angle coming up. Spoiler alert, next week. We've said it. Like, they link all these angles together, and it's just fucking amazing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's okay. I wanted to look up I wanted to make sure that this was the first, and it is. And in the scrapbook, it says the first ever Midnight Rock and Roll Express match was a 6-minute fast paced high spot match, ending with the Russians running in for the DQ and meant to give the fans a taste of what was to come. Which, by the way, the most disappointing part of that was they did not go 6 minutes. It was only 3.5. I wish it had been 6 minutes. Yeah, because they just went fucking balls to the wall. Robert did a T. Harris. Ricky did a fucking Hurricane Rana. And like they were going fast, but they were selling. But then all the shit looked good, and the crowd was losing its shit, and JR was losing its shit. And then like the angle after the match was hot. Like
By the
that's
way,
setting up.
if you wouldn't have told me how long the match went, I would have believed you that it went 6 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
And here's another program that we're gonna have some really strong house shows here in the next couple of months.
yep, indeed we are. And by the way, we kind of mentioned it, but it bears repeating. The girls in the audience lost their shit
Oh,
for Ricky and Robert.
oh, the screams.
Yes. Like Justin Bieber came out twice, and Bieber could only dream of getting, the screams that Ricky and Robert did.
I can just imagine what fucking crazy ass swamp women down around like south of Baton Rouge tried to fucking get it. Poor Darso and Nikolai.
Oh Lord, poor Nikolai and Darso. Um, so yeah, that whets our appetite for the future. And then we go to Jake Roberts versus Jason Walker in the second standby match. That means that yes, the Rock and Roll Express versus the Midnight Express was a standby match. I wrote exactly 5 words about this match. Roberts wins with the DDT.
Oh, I did note that they announced Jake as being from Shreveport, and then Jason Walker was from Memphis. So this was the ultimate battle of Southern TV wrestling cities.
And Shreveport is better than Memphis, I guess.
Yeah. The only thing of note here was that Jr. brought up rumors regarding one James Duggan. Rumors
Oh,
that he has
no.
been rumors that he has been competing in Florida and may be up to some of his old rule breaker ways.
Oh man, those are some stiff allegations there.
Yeah.
I hope
You
JR
just
can back
imagine?
those up. You
Can you
can't
just
just,
imagine
you know,
accusing somebody of going to Florida?
no.
Damn.
Why would a good New York boy like Jimmy Duggan go to Florida? You notice they never call him
Uh,
Jimmy Duggan, like everyone calls Jim Cornette Jimmy Cornette.
yeah, I don't know. I guess he doesn't.
Uh,
He's too thick to be a Jimmy. You got to kind of. I don't know. I had an Uncle Jimmy who was pretty round.
I was gonna say he's thick in a different way,
Yeah.
you know. Well, then we get our third and final standby match. It is Butch Reed and Buddy Landell versus the Brothers Penis. Um, Weingroff got the hot tag, which made Landell so afraid he tripped and fell into the ropes off of an Irish whip. Reed put his knee into Weingroff's back, which is what helped end Dynamite Kid's career. and then one with the grill press slam and the Buddy Landel twisting elbow drop.
This
In
match
case,
must have had a cumulative, I don't know, 17 miles of dick.
in case you somehow are listening to the show for the first time, the brothers' penis are Lanny Poffo and George Weingroff. Can you imagine a
Yeah,
day that we have to actually tell people that this is the first time you ever listen to the show? By the way, this is the first time you ever listened to the show. We're sorry.
We
Oh,
we understand. Nothing personal. So
yes.
as I had previously stated, I am not that familiar with Buddy Landel. This is my first time like seeing him regularly. Buddy's pretty damn good.
Yeah. It's hard to say what would have come to Buddy if he would have been good Buddy, if he wouldn't
Yeah,
have
that's
slept in on that Saturday night taping after him and Black Bart did an 8-ball the night before. Because
one of those
allegedly,
guys that
like,
was his,
according to
was his own worst enemy.
yeah, according to folklore, depending on what you believe, they were either going to shoot an angle for Buddy to get the NWA World Title for a brief run, or they were shooting an angle to put J.J. Dillon, who was Buddy's manager, with Tully Blanchard, and put Baby Doll, who was with Tully, with Buddy, because Baby Doll and Buddy were fucking behind the scenes. Yes. So yeah, but sadly, we get bits and pieces of good Buddy. And it's hard to say though, like, because Buddy, we're in the '80s, and I get, especially in the NWA, bodies were not, the most important thing. But with the exception of Dusty, everybody had a decent body. Even like your Tullys and Arns, who weren't like, ripped, like they still had a good body. But Buddy never really had the body. You know. And so that
Yeah,
may have limited him.
just imagine what he would have done if he had been trying.
Yeah. If he would have taken a few shots up the ass, and then if he would have given himself some steroids.
Don't don't name the podcast Buddy Landel takes it up the ass.
Buddy Landel takes it up the ass, episode 1. We're just gonna rename the entire show. Buddy Landel takes it up the ass.
So what closed the show here was I enjoyed seeing On the Road to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, a music video. Go ahead.
I thought you were just gonna mark out for Creedence Clearwater Revival.
I was just about to mark out. It was on Down in the Corner by Creedence Clearwater Revival, and it was Pine Bluff is about 90 miles north of my hometown. It's like you got to go through Pine Bluff to get to Little Rock.
And I like this for a number of reasons. I mean, we've seen them go to the big cities. We've seen plenty of Houston. I think we saw OKC. I think we saw Tulsa. We see New Orleans all the time. Correct me if I'm wrong. Pine Bluff, Arkansas, is not a very big city, but it is a regular stop for these guys. So it makes it look important to show, hey, look, important stuff is happening in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. So if you, the fan, go and buy a ticket to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, you may see some big happening, and we may put it on the TV.
Hey, I am from the region, Southeast Arkansas, and people were still talking about Mid Soutn Wrestling 20 years later.
By the way, Pine Bluff, Arkansas also was the home of the last ECW show.
Yes,
it was. ECW show.
It was.
The land of the extreme, Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Yeah. Hey, you ain't ever been to Pine Bluff. get pretty fucking extreme after dark.
I have not gotten anywhere near Arkansas, and I don't intend to. Um, what's it called? I don't remember what the hell I was going to say, but apparently it was something very important, I'm sure. Um, ECW, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I have no idea, but apparently it was super important. By the way, Sandman beat Just Incredible in the final ever ECW match. Oh yeah, I remember what I was going to say. I actually bought that tape off of RF Video.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I have that one or the one the day before in Poplar Bluff, Missouri.
It was the last one is the one that they end the show with the trash cans of beer coming out and everyone toasting because everyone pretty much knew that that was the end.
Yeah, if only.
But
If only anybody in my life had loved me enough to take me to wrestling when I was like 13.
90 miles away. Yeah,
I
I,
mean,
I, I couldn't get my family to
I
take me to the Catholic Youth Center in Scranton for the WWF house shows.
that
Because
sucks.
it was always we'll go when they're on the weekends because they would always do the shows in the middle of the weekend. It's a school night, and Scranton was a good hour and a half from our house. So it's like it wasn't next door. And of course, we were young, naive, and stupid and didn't realize Scranton is never going to be on a weekend because they leave the big cities and the big arenas to the weekend. Scranton, this Catholic Youth Center was like 1,000 people. Um, and
Yeah.
that was the famous arena that Mick Foley got them kicked out of in 1998
Oh,
because
that one.
yes,
Oh,
where whoever went up to everybody before the show, told them not to swear, not to do anything sexual, yada yada yada. And so when Billy Gunn held up the microphone to the crowd for them to yell "suck it," Mick takes the microphone and says, "Please don't make me suck it. I don't want to suck it." And they got thrown out of the building. And they're like, "Mick, we didn't tell
fun.
you because you were the one person we figured wouldn't do something like that."
Oh. By
Oh,
the way, shout out to Will Ospreay for the little Cactus Jack tribute in the match last night.
to no love for Chelsea Green.
Oh, has she been
She
doing? I don't know what
she
she's done.
she
I love her.
she she dressed like Cactus Jack, I think, on SmackDown
Oh,
last
I gotta
week.
find that. Oh yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She's great.
So since we're already talking about, by the way, that was the end of the Mid South show. Um,
Yeah,
Good show. Next week's going to be even better. Um,
yeah.
so since we're already talking about it, AEW Revolution. So I'll be honest, I've given up listening to other people's opinions about pretty much anything. Um, what are your thoughts on the match order? And specifically, Mox versus Edge ending the show after three greatest matches of all time.
Yeah, this is a personal record. I am almost certain I have never given three matches on the same show 5 stars. But
Yeah.
it's so weird that you put on that show and then put that on last with that finish. I didn't hate it, but I
Like
know that most people who are going to be loud about it are going to fucking hate it. And
I
everybody,
I hated it.
Mariah and Tony should have closed the show. Should have, by all means. They earned it. And
It
unless you are Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshita, you can't follow it.
See, I still think they should have went with Osprey at the end. I don't understand why Will Osprey isn't the world champion. I know they have 1,500 belts, and Will Osprey can have one of the other belts, but no, he has. It's now been a year. It has been a fucking year, and every fucking pay-per-view keeps being overshadowed. The main event keeps being overshadowed by the Will Osprey match. Literally, I think the only show that wasn't overshadowed was all in with Swerve and Danielson. But I mean, going back, I can tell you last year at Dynasty when Swerve won the title, I remember thinking, man, the crowd is not as into this as I thought they would be. Like they were into it to some degree, but like I was expecting a much bigger reaction to Swerve winning the belt than what he got. And then I realized they blew their load for Ospreay and Danielson. And that kept going for pretty much every pay-per-view where Will Ospreay's the semi-main event and kills it, and nobody can follow them. And at this point, like, I don't know why he's not the world champion. It's been a year. Just fucking put the like. Okay, fine. Swerve is great. Hangman is great. Ospreay is lapping all of them, and it's not even funny. Like, and it's going to happen next month. Because unless you just don't book Ospreay or book him in the opener with like Roderick Strong or something, and that's no offense to Roderick Strong, just as the first person that came to my mind was Roderick Strong. Unless you put him in that situation, it's like he's going to be in the semi-main and he's going to overshadow Jon Moxley and Swerve Strickland. And
I mean,
like
they
I,
did
I,
open
I,
that. They did open a pay-per-view with that match last year, and it was pretty damn great.
that's probably what made me think about that. And then you get like, I know it's like, and people are gonna, anybody who actually listens to the show is gonna rewind and like point out to me my, going back on shit. But like, Darby Allin, like they can't go to Darby Allin because I think that's where this thing is supposed to lead to, is Darby winning the belt
No,
from him.
the
But
the moment
but
has
they've
passed.
yes, the moment has passed. I'm sorry, I love Darby Allin. They lost the spot with
Look,
Darby Allin, and I'd like to,
if Darby wanted it bad enough, Darby would be there.
yeah,
And
but like
Swerve and
that,
Hangman and Ospreay are all fucking there.
yeah, like I'm still convinced that's what Double or Nothing is. It's Darby beating Moxley for the title, and I guess I could be proven wrong. We'll see, I guess, but like that's not the right way to go. And with all due love and respect to Swerve, I don't think I don't think Swerve in April is the right way to go. I think plans need to change. You know, put Ospreay in the match and have him beat Moxley. You know, 1, 2, 3, and it's like my only happiness coming from that match last night was that I called it that Christian was cashing in. I thought it was going to be at the end of the match, but yeah, um, I'm I don't know, like part of me, like when they added Christian, part of me wanted him to win, and then part of me was like, he really shouldn't be winning.
It was
And
so much funnier what they did, though. Oh my!
I
I'm sorry.
love I love that fucking spot where Moxley had him in the choke and he put his arm on Edge.
Oh, oh, that
I'm
was
like,
fucking. Oh, that was tremendous.
yes. I'm like, oh my God, they're not gonna do that. And then Moxley
Holy
won. It's
shit!
like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like it was a creative way to get out of it. But especially at this point, like he'd be going on and 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 on about it. It's like I don't know, like I don't get like it was a failure for for a cash in. It wasn't just he didn't win, so it's a failure. No, like just the whole story of it and the execution of it was a failure. And Edge versus Moxley, I don't know. I don't know what you rated it, but I would say it was a 3-star match, which is there's nothing wrong with a
On the
three
nose.
star match,
Three
you
on the
know?
nose. It's just
Yeah.
this show. Okay, that match that Copeland and Moxley had. If that was the main event of a WWF pay-per-view in 1999, people would have raved about it. But that was not a match to close this fucking show. Look, hey,
Yeah.
I said earlier, look, not only did I give 3 matches on the same show 5 stars, they were the 3 matches in a row before this one.
Yes. And certainly um I'll tell you what, Mox and Edge was better than one match on the show. The Hurt Business versus the Outrunners.
I actually had that one at 3 too.
See, I honestly I zoned out during that match because I'm like, if there's one match, I know they don't like doing, out and out squash matches, especially on pay-per-view. But if there was one time you were going to do a match on pay-per-view that was just a 3-minute blitzkrieg squash match, the Hurt Business versus the Outrunners was that match.
Yeah, I don't,
But yeah, that's it's another.
Tony
Oh,
Storm.
by the way, go ahead.
Tony Storm and Mariah May, I love you, and I just hope that you get everything you want in life, and that was just a beautiful blood orgy.
By the way, two things. First of all, happy birthday to my good friend Aubrey Edwards, who celebrated her birthday by slapping a canvas full of broken glass and thumbtacks.
Oh God, dadgum, yeah,
Yes.
That was gnarly.
Yep. And also, okay, so they had scheduled, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about AEW, and then we're going to move on to World Class. They had scheduled a Ring of Honor title match between Chris Jericho and Gravity, and it got angled out. Now, okay, I feel like I know where you're going to side with this one, but we'll see. I hated the fact that they booked this match for the pre-show of the pay-per-view. Not just because, they're putting the Ring of Honor World title match on a pre-show. And not even that. What's the point of having Chris Jericho as the Ring of Honor champion? It's to get people to watch Honor Club. It gets people to subscribe to Honor Club. And so what I thought they should do, especially when I thought they were going to do a real match on this, which, what they did would kind of kill the whole idea of my idea. But what I think they should do when Chris Jericho's going to defend the Ring of Honor title on a pre-show on a pay-per-view. However, the only place you can watch that Ring of Honor title match is on Honor Club. For the rest of us on YouTube, on ppv.com, on whatever, it goes to the countdown to, Revolution pre-show. But that one match goes to Honor Club, and you have to subscribe to Honor Club to watch that.
So it'd be like when UFC had you had the main card on pay-per-view and the prelims on Spike, but then you had, if you were a real sicko, you had the early prelims on fucking Facebook.
Kind of like that, or on Fight Pass, or
before 0 hour, do a sub-zero hour, and it's just I
wouldn't even say
30
that.
minutes, a couple of
Ring
of Honor matches.
Okay, that's fine, but I mean the Ring of Honor title match that should be on at 7:30 and only on Honor Club, and then you get I guess you can't even do the pre-show panel because you'd still hear the people. You go to the Countdown to Full Gear stuff that they air, or Countdown to Full Gear, Countdown to Revolution stuff. And this way, because there's no other reason to put the belt on Chris Jericho, because everyone's like, they're doing it so they can get a TV show. Well, that fucking TV show ain't happening anytime soon. So you might as well get something out of this, and they're really not getting much. And they're building up to Jericho versus Bandito, and since we're not doing a Super Card of Honor, maybe it's happening at Dynasty. Who knows?
Yeah, you know what I realized? Dynasty is on what would normally be WrestleMania weekend.
Yes. Yes, it's the first weekend in April, which is just weird. Because anyway, I promised when I was done we were going to talk about World Class. So here we go. It is the first show after the David Von Erich Memorial Show, and it is very weird in its own way. Let's go to the intro here with Bill Mercer.
Welcome to World Class Championship Wrestling from the Sportatorium. the most famous wrestling arena in the world, here in Dallas, Texas. I'm Bill Mercer. Great to have you along with us on this edition of World Class Championship Wrestling. Our main event will be Kevin Von Erich and Terry Gordy, the Freebird and the Von Erich feud continuing. It'll be Chris Adams, the American champion, against Kelly Kiniski. We've got a Freebird feature, a feature of Badstreet USA, that very popular record with Michael Hayes. He's going to tell us about his record, his concerts, his video. Well, we've got that and all this too. Chic Donovan and Mike Bond next on World Class Championship Wrestling.
Okay, I was thinking about this earlier today before I forgot to unmute myself. When the hell did Chris Adams win the American title? I think it'd be nice if Trae unmuted himself too. That would even be better.
As I remember to unmute myself,
he lost it at Christmas.
Yeah, I don't know. Did they mention him ever winning it back? I don't think so. Huh?
I think it's maybe the first time that we find out that Chris Adams is your new American heavyweight champion. Now, I didn't bother to look things up. Maybe I should have, since we're such a super popular podcast these days. But I have a theory, and I'll cover it when we get to that match.
Okay.
But first we get to our opener. It is the debuting Chic Donovan versus Mike Bond. And we kind of talked about Chic Donovan earlier, but I want you to imagine Lex Luger with Tara Risen's hair. I don't mean Triple H. I mean like that promo picture we've all seen of Tara Risen with the poofy blonde hair. That's what Chic Donovan was rocking here. And Mercer tried to say it was like Michael Hayes. I'm like, I guess I could see that.
I mean, yeah, from the back, just the hair.
Yeah. Mercer during this match, because this match went like 7 minutes. I think I was a shoot 7 minutes too.
Almost 9.
Damn. Mercer said, as you know, Chris Adams is the American champion and has been feuding with Jimmy Garvin for quite some time. Yeah, you have to die to get out of feuds in this territory.
Right?
Too soon? Too soon?
Oh, well, I didn't. I thought it was accurate.
Anyway, we find out here that not only is Adams the champion, but Garvin has stolen the championship cummerbund. More about that to come.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's a rib on me. It's some kind of cosmic law that there must, at all times, in some promotion that I watch regularly, there must be an active belt stealing angle.
Okay.
I don't know why either.
So we know we know who to blame for this at least. All right. So I will say Donovan is at least more charismatic than John Mantell and Kelly Kiniski. He was more interesting to watch. I'm not entirely sure if he's a babyface or a heel. I thought he was a heel, but he was getting some pretty good reactions from the people.
Chic Donovan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But you kept going in and out for some reason during that thing.
God damn it.
Yeah, so Chic Donovan, Timu Lex Luger on one side of the ring. On the other side of the ring, Mike Bond, Buddy. A grown man with a bowl cut. What the fuck are you doing?
Well, I mean, who knows what he was getting paid here? So, I mean, they say the only people who really made money are those who worked with the Von Erichs. So.
I watched this match, and Mercer described it, and he was not wrong. He described it as a rugged and sometimes awkward battle. And that's better than what I called it, because the word pedestrian comes to mind.
Well, at one point, Mercer starts talking about religious cults and somehow transitioned that.
I do want to thank Bill Mercer. for explaining that Jimmy Garvin stole the American heavyweight belt, but not the title. Because you can't steal the title.
Do you hear me? Trae? Trae, do you hear
Am I
me?
still even on the podcast? Am I still?
Yes. Trae, can you hear me? Folks, we're having some technical difficulties, which, happens apparently when you've got a popular show. So let's press pause and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. So I don't know what the hell happened, but Trae, can you still hear me?
I can now, yeah. I don't know what happened there.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was started talking. Who knows what actually got heard on the show? This is going to be a fun thing to go back and look at. But I I started talking about how Bill Mercer started talking about religious cults and somehow transitioned into a discussion about Chic Donovan surfing, and you started talking over me, and I'm like, okay,
I'm
this is gonna be one of
sorry.
those.
I thought that I spoke, and then there was just silence, so I should say something to fill the silence.
Oh Lord, Donovan, by the way, won with a running crossbody, and drunk Mark Lawrence said the match lasted 3 seconds. That is not the case.
Oh, this was surprisingly lucid, drunk Mark Lawrence.
Oh Lord. So we didn't get American champion Chris Adams versus Kelly Kiniski. So they said, as we mentioned, that Adams won the cummerbund, but Garvin stole it, and that's why he doesn't have it. So is it possible? Is it possible, the two Utes, that this match was taped before a title change? So, like, say this match was taped on Monday, and then Adams beat him for the belt on Tuesday. But now, for the people who saw that, you have to say, oh yeah, Adams champion. Because I mean, Adams wasn't even introduced as the America's champion by Mark Lawrence.
According to the information that I have in front of me, Adams won the title back on January 30th in Fort Worth. So
Well,
maybe
that
it was the
defeats that
mysterious
idea.
Fort Worth TV.
That damn TV show that we do not see.
And
So
probably for the best, really.
now I did note, we gave Kelly Kiniski a load of shit on this very show last week, but I did note that this was better than Kelly Kiniski's first match on this show. Not that that's saying a whole lot. Plus, like Chris Adams, like he is one of the better guys in the territory right now.
Yes. I was fixing to hate this, and then they did that grounded headlock spot that's like a cheat code to get over with me. And then, like, I don't know, a classic babyface match to me, like, it starts off scientific, but then someone starts to get more aggressive and the match gets more intense. And then, if in this case, eventually, typically the underdog will be the de facto heel, as it was in this match. And in this case, because of the interference, the underdog actually won. I
See, they knew that you were going to be watching the show decades later, and they wanted to make sure to you know have you be
well,
interested in it. They wanted you to mark out.
I wish I had understood 20 years ago that if I wanted to understand psychology, I should be watching stuff like this and not like Four Pillars All Japan. Which, don't misunderstand me, those matches have incredible psychology, but it's somewhat advanced. This is the kind of shit you watch to understand simple concepts like heels and baby faces.
Yes. All right. So Garvin comes down to show off the cummerbund at the end of the match, and it leads to Kiniski winning with a schoolboy after Garvin distracts Adams. Adams then calls Garvin a son of a bitch and challenges him to get in the ring. And I started to write Garvin teases getting in, but then turns around, walks away, and this feud must continue. However, that is not what happened.
No?
Adams slapped Garvin, so Garvin got onto the apron, and Chris Adams dragged him in, where Chris Adams and Jimmy Garvin proceed to have a fair one-on-one fight that is won by Jimmy Garvin. Jimmy Garvin wins this fair fight that Chris Adams, the babyface, started. Garvin tied him in the ropes and kicked at him while Mercer was saying how embarrassing this was for Chris Adams. It was, and he wasn't even meaning it the way that we're meaning it.
You and I speculated what sexual favors who may have performed for whom to get this match booked. I think we overlooked. It is entirely possible that Chris Adams pissed in Ken Mantell's cornflakes.
That is possible at this point. Sunshine gets in the ring, and now we have watched a lot of pro wrestling matches in our lives, Trey. I think tens of thousands is probably, an accurate statement. And we have seen a lot of people hit a lot of people with the championship cummerbund before. It's a pretty simple thing. You pick up the belt, you kind of hold it, stiffly, and then you run it at the other person you're hitting it with. And whether you hit him in the back, you hit him in the head, you hit him wherever, the point is you're holding the belt firm and running it at somebody. That is not what Sunshine did. Sunshine picked up this belt and swung it like a baseball bat at Jimmy Garvin. Jimmy Garvin somehow basically no-sold it, and proceeded to threaten to whoop her, and that distraction led to Chris Adams recovering and taking out Jimmy Garvin with a super kick. So he needed the 2-on-1 advantage. He needed the woman to distract his rival for the baby face to get over. And then it's not even over yet, because after he knocks out Garvin with the super kick, he takes the belt back, gives it to Sunshine, because she might as well be the fucking champion at this point. He gives it to Sunshine, and then he begins taking off all of Jimmy Garvin's accoutrements.
I wrote something about Sunshine, but then I crossed it out and wrote in all caps, "Do not say this on the podcast."
Okay. But what the hell was with this angle?
I don't know. I just look, this was an awful lot of revenge. So I don't think after this that Adams should be pursuing more revenge on Jimmy Garvin. I think this was enough revenge.
I think one of these two need to die soon so we can move on to a new angle.
Oh, I was going to say don't say that, but I guess we kind of know the future, don't we? We know that it's going to be at least a little while before either of them dies.
Jimmy Garvin's still alive, isn't he?
I know. Yeah. Poor Chris Adams.
If you told me they were still wrestling in 1999, I'd believe you. We then get, we've seen families feud before here in wrestling. We had the Rhodeses feud. We had the Hardys, the Harts. No one ever talks about the Reeds feud, because up next, Butch Reed took on what I presume is his cousin, the very capable Mike Reed. And it was, in fact, it sucks when cousins have to fight. It just sucks. Butch did the job on Mike when he came off the middle rope with a fist to the face. I should point out he did the job onto Mike, not to Mike. And then Butch won with a diving shoulder butt.
Butch put a pretty good ass whooping on his brother from another mother here.
Well, so you think they're brothers?
Well, they could be, but they would have to have the same father, because they have the same surname, unless they have the same mother, and the father wasn't in the picture for either of them. Boy, what a deadbeat! Have two children that you weren't there for that both became pro wrestlers? Was there a wrestler in like the '60s named Reed who was a shitty, neglectful father that we don't know about?
Maybe it was the father from the Brady Bunch.
Well, oh yeah, he may have been in a tag team with Big Daddy Dudley.
There you go.
And
It's
I
amazing
think
that
they
things you discover.
I think they worked a program with the Outrunners in '82.
And Johnny Swinger was probably in one of their corners.
He was probably in the opener against Johnny Mantell in a 10-minute draw.
Poor Johnny Swinger, Daddy. All right, so then I think the whole world has heard Badstreet USA by this point. But hey, we're finally getting essentially not the debut of it because we've already heard it a couple times, but we are at the beginning of the Badstreet USA era. Let's go to Michael Hayes, who's going to talk about his musical career a little bit.
You know, it's one thing to be 1/3 of the fabulous Freebirds, the most famous and the best wrestling team in the world six-man champs, I might add. It might be one thing great to be from Atlanta, Georgia. It might also be great that the Freebirds have their own hit single, Badstreet USA, that's taking the country by storm. It might be great to have Terry Bam Bam Gordy on your side on the left, Buddy Jack Roberts on the right. You know, it might be great to say a lot of things, but a lot of people ask us about Badstreet and what made us come from Badstreet and what's it all about and just how bad are we? Well, I tell you what, baby, you just check out what's coming up next and you'll find out just how bad we are.
All right, so I mean, I'm playing it because it was pretty much the only promo on the entire show. In fact, it was the only promo on the entire show. And yeah, it's just him pitching it to Badstreet USA, which was certainly a song. And hey, for a song created by a wrestler in the '80s, it was a pretty good song.
This song is a guilty pleasure for me. It's so bad it's good. And
Badstreet, Atlanta, GA.
and I have
Badstreet in the whole USA.
I have been to Atlanta, and I can't confirm that the further down the block you went, the better it got.
Yes. I think we discussed this when I was in Atlanta for WrestleMania. Like literally, if you're in downtown Atlanta, it's it's a great little area. It's a beautiful area, actually, I'd even say. The minute you get out of downtown Atlanta, it sucks.
It's like, have you ever been to Memphis?
No, I have not.
Memphis is awesome if you're on Beale Street. If you're not on Beale Street, stay in the fucking car until you get to Germantown or South Haven.
South Haven, where they did that one TNA pay-per-view from Memphis.
Yeah, they did AEW TV there at least once too. That is actually it's South Haven, Mississippi. It's right across the state line. We used to we lived in North Mississippi for a while, so our day trip was we would go shopping in South Haven, which is the greater that's where everybody from Memphis leaves to go shop in the suburbs.
Now, out of curiosity, did you watch this music video? It wasn't the Badstreet USA music video, but it was basically a highlight package of Freebird stuff set to Badstreet USA. Did you watch this?
I mean, I wasn't hyper focused on it. It was on.
You didn't see what Terry Gordy did you?
I guess not, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so do you remember the spot on NXT when Adam Cole was walking down the ring and Keith Lee pounced him off of the camera?
Yes.
Okay. They essentially did this spot here with a fan. Or actually, it may not have been a fan, but I think it was a fan. It was this guy who he may have been a wrestler, may have been a plant, but I don't know. We've never seen him. He was on the wrong side of the guard rope, and he had a beard, and he was holding his arms out while Gordy was in the ring, like he was challenging Gordy. And wrong move. Gordy got out of the ring and shoved him about 5 feet to the other side of the camera. It like I was like, that's Keith Lee and Adam Cole.
Terry Gordy, as it turns out, a brick shithouse.
Do not fuck with Terry Gordy. I don't care that
I would
he's
not.
dead. Do not fuck with him now.
Oh, absolutely not. Have you noticed? Did you? I look and I've thought it before, especially in this period of Terry Gordy. He looks like Andre the Giant if he was just Andre the Big.
Andre the Pretty Large.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael, he missed.
Oh my god. Now I'm gonna bust out some kind of fantasy booking game and book heel Michael Hayes with Andre the Giant as his heater.
Have Andre the Giant be part of the Freebirds?
Yes. Oh, with the who was the one with the fucking face paint? Was it like Brad Armstrong or
The Bradstreet, yes.
yeah, Andre in the Bradstreet face paint.
He wasn't in the face paint. He was in a mask, wasn't he? Yeah, because we weren't supposed to know it was Brad Armstrong. But I think it was one of those worst
Yeah.
kept secrets in wrestling type things.
It was very oh my god.
Yes, it was very oh my God. And speaking of other things that are oh my God, Kevin Von Erich took on Terry Gordy. By the way, remember that angle from like 6 weeks ago where Kevin Von Erich was doing an interview with Japan and somebody mysteriously attacked him? Well, apparently we did not forget this angle because it is continuing. Um, yeah, more important things have happened in our lives, but we're going to instead focus on that angle from 6 weeks ago, which I'm assuming at some point we're going to get a payoff to. We're still blaming the Freebirds, even though there's no proof to it. By the way, did you notice Mercer like almost sounded disgusted when he talked about how Kevin and Kerry now want to win the world title for David?
I didn't. That's interesting.
You,
By the way,
you have not been paying attention, young man.
I mean, I heard him say it, but I didn't really notice anything about his voice. And I'm sorry. The oh my god was because I Googled Badstreet, trying to find a picture of the Brad Armstrong gimmick, and the second result was a photo of Michael Hayes in the seductive Jeff Goldblum pose with a Confederate flag on and nothing else.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And by the way, he was originally called Fantasia, but Disney ixnayed that one pretty damn quickly.
Didn't that happen with another gimmick with him too, like a Spider-Man ripoff, Arachnaman?
He was Arachnaman.
Uh,
In like a very small period of time, he was Arachnaman, he was Brad Armstrong Candyman, he was Fantasia, and he was Badstreet.
can you imagine if Brad had like Brian's charisma? Or if Brian had Brad's work? Either one.
I was gonna say, I think you needed Brian to have Brad's work rate. That would have been he could have been a fucking champion in the 90s in that case.
Yeah.
By the way, we find out that next week Mike Von Erich, yes, that Mike Von Erich, is going to be in a quote a large and important match with Michael Hayes. I get why it's a large match for Mike Von Erich, but why is it important?
Well, if he wins, he gets to see what's under the flag.
Oh shit. See, I just figured, it's a large match for him because this is his biggest challenge to date. He's stepping up a little bit in competition. But yeah, I mean, if that's what's on the line, I can see why he might want to win.
Right. He challenged him to go on a date.
So Gordy gets the spike on, and Kevin, by the way, Kevin is a baby face, and they're right next to the ropes. And so even though Terry Gordy has the spike on, Kevin Von Erich isn't going to grab the ropes. He's going to fight back. And just as I finished writing that, he grabbed the ropes. I'm like, huh, why didn't he just do that a minute ago? By the way,
Okay.
when he grabbed the ropes, Gordy was hesitant to break the hold, and so teeny tiny biased David Manning dragged big Terry Gordy off of him to break the hold. Did he not just watch that Badstreet music video where Terry Gordy pounced the shit out of the fan? I would not be fucking
Right?
with Terry Gordy if I was David Manning.
Do you
Um,
remember? Do you remember when Andre the Giant was the Giant Machine?
oh, that was him? Huh. Yes, I do.
Yeah. He hung around with Super Strong Machine and Blackjack
Hulk
Machine and
Machine.
Hulkster Machine and Piper Machine. That, but the Bad Street Mask.
So Andre the Giant and Badstreet Mask.
Yes, and
Okay.
like before the one titty singlet too. Like Andre with just plain trunks and the Bad Street Mask.
I think we talked about the Killer Bees and their masks the other day. Do you remember when they did a match on Primetime Wrestling with the Killer Bees and Junkyard Dog, and Junkyard Dog put on the mask to do mass confusion?
That is amazing. Oh,
Yes.
did it work?
Um, I don't believe so. No, I'm a little surprised by that.
That's racist.
I know, right? We're gonna talk about racism all over this show this week. Um, So Kevin locks on the claw, but Gordy shimmies into the corner into the ropes. I'd like to point out that David Manning did not try to rip Kevin off of Terry Gordy.
Huh.
Stupid biased motherfucker.
Funny that.
We got what was called a wild melee of uncontrolled anger, and Kevin poked David Manning in the eyes, which should have been a disqualification. Instead, David Manning runs back over and gets in Gordy's way, so Gordy swats him away, and eventually we get a DQ. And eventually the job crew hits the ring, including Mike Bond and the capable Mike Reed, and Chic Donovan ran in to no avail. Finally, Bronco Lubick meandered into the ring, and everyone was temporarily separated, but Bronco's presence wasn't enough. And finally, Michael Hayes retrieved his partner.
So
this was an all right match. I mean, we've seen them wrestle
sure.
307 times, but
according to my records, the 7th Kevin Gordy singles match since I started watching the show with you.
I'm a little surprised it's only 7.
So the 7th Kevin Gordy singles match. That leaves a lot of leeway.
So Mercer ends the show telling us that next week Iceman King Parsons and Chris Adams will team up against, Jesus Christ, I know how to speak, against Max and Jimmy Garvin, and of course the Mike versus Michael huge important match.
Huge.
Yes, and important. I can't wait till next week. You know.
Absolutely.
So I guess I'm just waiting for us to really kick it into high gear for the Texas Stadium show, which in theory
yeah.
they're going to be announcing that any time now.
Oh, I forgot to mention during the Mid South review. I think here on March 10th was the first time that they mentioned on TV that the Superdome on April 7th.
I know they mentioned that last week.
Oh, okay, they did mention it last week. Okay.
Yeah.
I retract.
Yes, we keep things honest here. Um, by the way, we've talked about Corner Gas a lot on the show. Have you ever watched Kim's Convenience?
I haven't. Is it something that people who like corner gas might like?
I think you would, because I also got it from Lance Storm recommendation, and Lance is the
Oh,
reason why I checked out Corner Gas. So,
speaking
and
of very Canadian
speak
things, I am I am in
speaking
the
of
middle of
very Canadian
rewatching.
things,
I am in the middle of rewatching Letterkenny, which is also excellent, and you should check out.
nice, 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 nice. Um, and so yeah, I guess that's gonna do it. I feel like there's more to talk about. Oh yeah, so 2 hours ago, and I'm almost afraid to do this just because what if it doesn't change? But 2 hours ago when we started the show, last Friday night show was at 536 views. So I'm gonna refresh the page and see where we're at now.
All
So
right.
get the drum roll going. Imagine if it goes down. That would be hilarious.
Oh, like my
So we're
Twitter
at
followers after a
536.
bot purge.
Yes. Oh, by the way, I'm getting popular on Blue Sky because the same bot followed me with 4 different accounts.
Oh,
Uh, what was that number? 563?
probably.
Okay, great. We're just great at the show. 569 is the current number of listeners on that show. What the hell is wrong
Nice.
with you people? Um, all all right, so that we might as well wrap things up, slightly early. I mean, it's an hour and 43 minutes, so it's not super soon. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this week's show. Hope you all enjoyed it. Listen to the Oh My God cast. Listen to the TNA show tomorrow. Listen to the Smoky Mountain show on Thursday. Listen to the shows that aren't just the Friday night show, because Jesus Christ, you're gonna give us a complex here. But that's gonna
we,
do it
we
for this
actually
week.
we actually put effort into these. A little, not a lot, but a little bit.
Yes. Um, but yeah, so that's gonna do it here. So I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope you all enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Bye.